Everyone wants to live an inspired life, yet so many people search for happiness following the footsteps of peers and taking advice from people who have different values and outcomes to which they're searching. There are people born into wealth, graduated from the best universities in the world, and there are people who have none of that and yet are living extraordinary lives full of fulfillment and reward. The purpose of this podcast is to share insights and strategies that allow you to question the status quo and think freely, so you can design your life and be who you want to be. We get one life. Time is our most valuable asset. I believe that when we're free and able to focus on meaningful work, we become better human beings. This is Always Free, and I'm your host, Jason Greystone.
Welcome to the leading podcast for financial empowerment and wealth creation. Subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. You can connect with Jason on social media and subscribe to the Jason Greystone YouTube channel for weekly videos. Don't forget to also subscribe to the weekly newsletter to receive frequent educational content and action steps to help you design your life so you can be who you want to be. For news on all future events and updates, go to jasongreystone.com.
Well, welcome back to the podcast, guys. Hope you've had a good week. It's been a beautiful week weather-wise in the UK, so I've been enjoying every minute of it, making the most of the garden and the pool and all that kind of stuff, and it's been really nice. So if you're listening to this podcast for the first time ever, you are in the best place for financial education, financial empowerment, and wealth creation. And the basis of this podcast is to basically empower you around money so that you can get control, grow wealth, build wealth, become financially independent and financially free. So great place to be if that's what you're looking for. And if you're just listening to it for the first time, just give it a little tick, give the little like button a tickle or the rating, and please leave a review if you're listening to this on iTunes. I do read all of the reviews, and it helps me get the feedback that I need to keep this thing going and making sure it's the best it could possibly be. So over the last, what are we on, episode 18? We've gone into financial, personal finances. We've gone into it's kind of stopping the bleeding, checking your finances, getting them in order, making sure that you've gone and set up your automated banking and you're splitting your income into various different accounts. We've gone into wealth accumulation strategies, acceleration strategies. We've talked about mindset. We've talked about doubling your income, how to rapidly grow your business. And this week, I've got another special guest on. He's a great friend of mine, very close friend of mine, Ben Coomber. Now, Ben Coomber is in business. Okay, so he's an entrepreneur. He's out there using influence and leverage to solve meaningful problems, and he's a great guy. And the reason I brought him onto the podcast is because I featured on his podcast back in, it must have been over a year ago now. But health and wealth go hand in hand. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Health and wealth go hand in hand, and they're entwined. And if you don't have one, you're going to struggle to have the other. If you don't have money, you can't afford, good food and exercise and the gym and things like that. And if you don't have health, you're not motivated to go and make money. They're entwined, they're interlinked. And if you look around at all the successful people people who are out there smashing it, they've got their health game together. You don't see many couch potatoes, lethargic kind of sleepy, tired couch potatoes out there smashing it in the as entrepreneurs. It just doesn't happen. So it's really important that you got your health game together. And today I caught up with Ben in London, and I'm gonna share with you the conversation. We're gonna go through mindset. You're gonna see how the principles apply to money as they do fitness. And we're also going to go into business, your self-worth, your discipline, and how you can monetize. If fitness is your discipline and you're good at fitness, how you can monetize that. Ben's an owner of 3 businesses now. He's built wildly successful businesses. He's one of the most highly downloaded podcasts in the health and fitness industry, which is really, really noisy marketplace. And I'm really looking forward to sharing with you what Ben had to say. So let's get cracking. Welcome, Ben. Thanks for coming on.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Really good to have you, mate. I know I did one of your podcasts, didn't I, quite a while back?
You did,
a year ago now, actually.
You did, yeah. People are still messaging me about it today.
And I just want to say, we were just talking about this. Anyone who does a podcast, and I know, this podcast is now up to 35,000 unique downloads. It's been going since March. People seem to think you have to do it all perfectly. This guy has got one of the highest ranked podcasts in the health and fitness industry, and he records most of the episodes on an iPhone.
I do, yeah. I like to keep things simple.
Yeah. we rocked up to the hotel, and he just pulled the pillows off the bed, put it on the table, stuck the iPhone on, hit record on the voice notes, and that was it.
There you go. And it sounded all right, did it?
Yeah. I get people messaging me daily saying, I listened to Ben Coomber's thing, I'm now interested in building my wealth, and I've come to you. It's just incredible. That blows me away still, that whole, the world we're living in, where something like that can just happen. And you can upload something and reach people, New Zealand, Australia, minutes later.
Yeah, podcasting is a new powerful medium.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And I think there's still only 11% penetration in the UK of people that are listening to podcasts.
It's really on the up, isn't it? It's really quite young, and there's a lot of growth room.
Yeah.
I'm blown away by it. Anyway, so you're on the podcast, and you might be wondering why Ben's on the wealth and financial podcast, but as you've heard me say before, I believe that there is a hierarchy of kind of necessities, and wealth is one, and health is also kind of interlinked at one, because without health, you really struggle to get your stuff together financially, because if you get out of shape or you become ill, you're not able or motivated to go out there. You're not driven as much as some of the people that go out and succeed. You have to have your mind together, you have to have your body together, and you have to be in good shape. So I thought it'd be good to get Ben on, because he's very, he's all about mindset as well. He's very, very transparent, very realistic. The reason me and Ben got on so well is because we've got very similar values, very disruptive, I would say, in both of our industries. And there's a lot of crap out there. Mm-hmm. And there are lots of crap.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and Ben likes to cut through all that noise, just like I do in the trading space, for instance. So what I really want to talk about, first of all, is kind of some of the mindsets that people have towards losing weight. When people think about losing weight or getting fit and they're out of shape, what's the main struggles with that? What's going through their head?
Well, it's interesting because today we'll probably draw a lot of parallels between business and health, because there's just so many similarities. Yeah. We're constantly talking in the fitness industry about everyone wanting a quick fix, and the diet industry has been built on everyone wanting a quick fix. I mean, you can look at some of the stuff that is sitting in people's cupboards at home that they've bought off Amazon on a whim, or they've been watching TV and it came up, little random exercise gadgets, crappy supplements that didn't work. And it's the same in business, right? People will reach out to you on Instagram and be like, yeah, Jason, I get all that, but what's the best stock to currently invest in, or what's the quickest way to do X? And it's like, well, we can't do that. Let's look at it from a year. Let's look at now and the end of next year, and realistically we probably want to make a bit of a 3 to 5 year plan, because finances is even longer than it is health. I used to be obese, and actually getting slim only took me 6 months. So I lost 5.5 stone in 6 months.
Right.
So I lost weight really quickly, but it was because I took quite an aggressive approach.
Which isn't sustainable.
No, it's not sustainable. The good thing was I was young. So I had the energy to do it, I had the time to do it, I had the motivation to do it, because I wanted to look good, I wanted to be successful in my career. That was my key primary driver, it was actually success. So I was young, and I was I was a kind of a child actor, and I wanted to go to acting school. I was currently auditioning at RADA and all the big, London places, schools of acting. And I just looked at myself in the mirror one day and I was like, I am a state. I'm overweight, I'm tired, I can't breathe properly because I had asthma, I had eczema patches on my elbows and stuff. And I was like, let's look at all the successful people in the world. Not many of them are, pretty overweight, pretty tired, pretty unhealthy, like they look after themselves. Like they've got good skin, good hair, they're glowing, they've got energy. And I just woke up that one day and I was like, to be successful, I have to get in shape. And I just thought it was my gateway, and it was my gateway. It was my gateway to success, because when I became slimmer, you know, more athletic, fitter, I became more confident. I had more self-belief. You know, I had energy to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and go and do a run before I started my work day. Like all of those things fed into my career potential. And that's why I love talking about health, you know, to business owners, for people in work environments, because I'm like, you will be better at all of this stuff if you do this stuff, I promise you. And I think that's now why, especially in London, there is a wellness revolution. Like everywhere is aware of it. You know, we've got free bean bags and water and all sorts in offices now. Like people are giving people time off to go and do a Zumba class, yoga class, a soul cycle at lunchtime. Like all of that is now the new business.
Absolutely.
And for me, that's cool, man.
That's why I think it's interlinked. I think it enhances your performance as a business owner, which in turn enhances your income and all the rest of it, if you feel vibrant and energetic. And you've got your stuff together. You mentioned about quick wins and people buying gimmicky stuff. You know, that does happen. And the amount of times that people just ask me if I can recommend a book, or it doesn't necessarily mean they're going to read the book or take the course or whatever. They just stick it on the shelf and they don't really bother with it. But when it comes down to it, money, I've said before, growing wealth is really just about spending less than you earn and investing wisely. And with fitness, it's about burning more calories than you consume if you're losing weight and investing in yourself. Yet it's still, money and wealth are two of the most popular searched phrases online, or words online. And it's a multi-billion dollar industry, fitness and financial services. So why is that? Why are people doing that?
Well, I think it's a way to live your best life. It's as simple as that. If you've got your health, you can do cool stuff, you're energized. People also want to be of a healthy weight. You know, they want to look good, feel good. But to enjoy life, you've also got to have wealth. So if you ain't got any money in the bank, then you're not going on a holiday, you're not going skydiving, you're not going bungee jumping, you're not going out for nice dinners, all of that stuff. So for a lot of people, that is the gateway to a better life. And one of my mottos is, or my main motto is, live an awesome life. Now, I'm here to help you live an awesome life. And my gateway is through nutrition, training, talking about the mindset. And for you, it's talking about money. Like, let's create freedom, let's create flexibility, let's create opportunity.
But if the principles are so simple, why are people searching for the quick fix? Why are they doing that?
Oh, there is a lot of reasons. The human brain will naturally take the shortest path, the path of least resistance. So if I was sat here and we were 1,000,000 years ago and the elder went, the fruit on that tree is lovely and the fruit's 10 feet away. And he goes, but I've tasted the fruit on that tree and it's 100 yards away. The human 9 times out of 10 will go, well, that fruit will do. That's enough. It's sustenance. It will do. So we have to boycott that. We have to work out, and we have to have enough motivation, desire, outcome-based goals to say, no, I'm not going to take the shortcut. I am going to go for a run today. So I am tired. It is raining outside. I don't really feel like it, but I'm going to go for a run today because I'm looking beyond my initial emotion. And that's the problem. Everyone gets caught up in their initial emotion of like, I'm tired, I'm hungry, I'm this. It's like, that doesn't really matter. Like, your body doesn't really care about that. But at the end of the week, you're going to be complaining that you're still tired, you're still overweight, or you're still poor, or you've still got no time. So it's about really planning. And it's so hard to talk about like planning and goals to people because it sounds like the most boring topic in the world. You need to plan better. The reality is everyone does. People are not planning their money effectively. They're not planning when they're going to go for a run, when they're going to go to a gym, what food they're going to buy at the supermarket. Well, you now have to be happy with a crappy outcome. But you have the power to change it if you sit down, literally get a piece of A4 paper and a pen and write down a plan.
And I've seen how much you plan. You if you're working in London, you're planning ahead for the food you're going to eat that day. You know when you might overeat, and you're looking at reducing calories and stuff like that in certain days. You plan your training. If you're going to be in meetings, you put. And it's all about planning. It's the same with the stuff that I teach. I think there's a big difference between goal setting and goal planning. And planning is the key. Planning's the key, because whatever we plan, we achieve. And it's as simple as that. If you plan to go on a holiday, I'm going on holiday next week, you've planned it, and I'll go, and it'll be a success, and I'll get home, and it happens. You plan a barbecue, you have the barbecue, it happens. But people don't spend the same amount of time planning a holiday as they do planning their fitness and weight loss, and consistent weight loss and fitness. So you mentioned about, Do you know
what's funny about that, just to bring up a point, and I've only really just realised this, is people plan, or probably spend the most time planning escapism. Like they spend a lot of time in investing in getting away from it. Like they'll spend all the time in the world organising who they're going to go out for drinks with on a Friday night. But they won't spend any time organising what their fitness is going to look like next week. And the problem is we get caught in these ruts. We get in the rut of like tired, frustrated, all the rest of it.
That's kind of a procrastination tactic, though, isn't it? When you're avoiding what you should be doing most.
And the issue is culturally, most people are doing that. So it's really hard to break away from it. Like if everyone's going to go out and the meal that they want to have is pizza, and you're like, oh my god, I don't want to go out for pizza. That is like one of the worst diet foods ever. Like you're really going to struggle, because your environment is constantly working against you. There's peer pressure, and it takes confidence over time to do a lot of the stuff that we're talking about. Like it takes confidence. It takes courage as well. Courage. To do some of the stuff that you recommend. You've got to go and have a sit down with your wife, and say, right, we need to sort our money out. Like we need to think differently. Well, my dad wouldn't recommend doing that. And we should probably do this. And it's like, it takes courage to even start. So that's why I quite often say to people, you might have to remove yourself from a situation for a period of time. Like if your friends group is just constantly always going out drinking, like I can imagine it's tough in London culture sometimes. Like, it's all about going out, socialising, entertaining, networking. That's not always conductive to being healthy.
No.
So you've got to learn how to manage that. I'm not saying maybe completely remove yourself, but maybe you only want 1 or 2 exposures of that a week, because otherwise you're going to, really going to be off track.
And you've got to plan for that as well, haven't you?
Exactly.
You've just got to say, right, I'm going to have this plan to avoid that situation.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's the same, when I talk about that, it's the same with money. It's exactly the same. It takes courage, because you have to not buy the latest gadget, or not buy the latest car just to keep up with people. And if you really, really want to achieve financial independence in the most efficient space of time, which is what most people want to do when they lose weight, it takes a lot of courage. You have to go against the grain of what most people are telling you and do the complete opposite. Because as you say, it's ingrained in everyone. The wrong side of it is the masses. So when you was talking about pushing beyond that and really getting outside your comfort zone, when I coach people on money, and some of my private clients, I have this thing called a financial thermostat, and I've spoke about it in the podcast before. In fact, you just said get away from a group of friends. One of my podcasts was talking about how I moved 22 miles away from my friends who wanted to go out all the time when I had to get my money together. But they have this thing called a financial thermostat, and what you find is, if you look at a printout of the activity of their bank account, you'll see that it gets paid, they get paid, and it spikes up, and then it kind of whittles down, then they get paid, and it's almost like a fingerprint that you can predict for most people. And when I look at that fingerprint, I can tell what their financial thermostat is, because there'll be an upper level and a lower level. And when they go below it, they kind of feel a bit scarce and like poor, and they'll scrimp and they won't go out, and they'll save and save and save and save. They'll get paid, and then when they get paid, the endorphins go off and they feel good, and they've got the money and they feel a bit frivolous, and they'll go and blow it to get back into that thermostat, that band. I've noticed this in fitness myself. Do you notice that when people try and lose weight and then they start to get results, and then they get nearer to their goal, and then they start going back into the bad habits? It's almost like they want to get the weight back on. Like they might go and blow it on a Chinese or something.
Yeah, I think the context is a bit different though. There's lots of things that happen or hold people back on that journey. You know, there's one thing is not sticking to it long enough, so that actually forms a new set of habits.
Right.
So quite often people will decide to go on a diet. Motivation will be very high. They'll go quite extreme, so they'll cut loads of stuff out, sugar, alcohol, gluten, you know, whatever it is. And 3 or 4 weeks come past and they're a bit frustrated, a bit tired. Yeah, they've lost a little bit of weight, but it now feels like a chore. Something comes up, wedding, bar mitzvah, barbecue round of friends, like whatever, and it's like, oh, thank God, an excuse to just bin the diet in. It'd almost be fun to mock it at the barbecue, like screw the diet, I'm like doing whatever I want this weekend. And then you kind of get to Monday and like you quite enjoyed the weekend, you don't really want to go back to restriction, and then you kind of drop into your old ways.
Yeah.
So people taking an extreme approach is quite often a pretty dangerous thing. You know, I'm probably quite a unique scenario in that I was young, I was left to my own devices, didn't have any responsibilities. I could be extreme and then kind of carry on. Most people, again, don't have the environment that facilitates that. So that's when we have to try and be really sexy, but it's very unsexy to talk about it, which is sustainable change. Like, you know, just change one thing, and then when it's implemented, change another thing, and then change another thing and layer it up. It's the same with money. You know, you talk to me, you were like, right, build up your nest egg. And then once you've done that, we're then going to do the 10% thing, and then we're going to kind of build it. And I've been doing it in layers.
Yeah.
Yes, it's slow. Kind of feels a little bit frustrating because I'm like, yeah, but can't I just do this yet? That's not the steps. That's not the process.
No, it has to be done.
Follow the process.
Yeah.
Follow someone that's done it before.
Yeah.
So there is lots of issues there. You've got to take yourself into a new environment or change your environment with you. So a lot of people on a fitness journey will either isolate themselves, which will only last so long, or they'll find a completely new kind of environment, and that carries them on. And that is the better way to do it long term. It's like if you're going to a gym and you know you have to go to a gym to get fit, that's not going to be sustainable. What you want is a gym where you're like, I want to go to the gym.
Yeah.
Because there's those legends there, and you know, we have fun and we get fit. That's why CrossFit's been so good. It's, you know, so successful because it created a community. Whereas before, gyms were big, stuffy, full of treadmills, boring. Yeah. Trainers just wanted to charge you for PT hours rather than giving you, you know, some advice. So CrossFit created an environment where people wanted to go, and now they have one of the most successful fitness business models in the world through sheer community. Because some of the information they put out is like god awful, like just terrible.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter because the community's there, so everyone follows it. Everyone's motivated to, you know, have a really restrictive diet and absolutely do mind-blowingly hardcore workouts 5 days a week that, you know, potentially lead you to burnout. But yeah.
So
anyway.
do you think the network of people is one of the most important things to push past that and get results in?
Definitely, because you know your network is going to be the people that you can liaise with, you know, along the way. Like in my network, you're part of it. So if I have a money question, I'm going to be like, I'm going to text Jason. Like, but if you've got a mate who's really fit, who's been there and done it, well, you can pick up the phone to him.
Yeah.
But if you don't have that network, you're like, well, I can't ask Jane because she's currently doing Slimming World again for the 9th time. So where's your support network? Yeah. Where's almost the power? So definitely, like, yeah, your phone book, your support network, your environment, all of that is fundamental.
Yeah, I always say that your network's the fastest way to grow your net worth, and that's purely because you can get the answers that you want quickly, and get the support that you need to get the result. And yeah, it's absolutely true. So I was going to talk a little bit about, obviously this is a financial and wealth creation podcast, and I know you're not just a fitness guy, you are in business.
Yep.
You've got your fitness business, and one of the things that I like to talk about on here is all the different areas of life, because some people, something I get told a lot is, oh, we don't need money because I've got a great relationship, we've got a great relationship. As a couple, they'll come to us and say, we don't need money, we've got a great relationship. And I think to myself, that's just one part, it's a completely separate part of your life.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you don't need to have your money together as well. I believe you need balance in all areas of life. But some people have a bigger discipline in areas than others. So you've got a bigger discipline at the moment in fitness than me, and I've got a discipline in money. Yeah. Someone might have a very, very good discipline in relationships. And I think people get a bit kind of down in the dumps because they feel like that's what they're stuck with. But I see it as self-worth. I see it as net worth. I see your discipline as your power to create wealth. So you've obviously done that very well. What are some of the avenues that you can take? If you're listening to this and you're into fitness, for instance, what are some of the ways that you can monetize from being to providing value in the fitness industry?
Sure. So I think we now live in a day and age where every skill has a value. Like,
absolutely,
you can literally make whatever career you want. Like, if you want to go and sell leather made wallets, because that's what's sitting in front of me, you could do it through just an Instagram account and that's it. You know, and leverage like influencers, business owners, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I got into fitness. My mum always told me I had a bit of an entrepreneurial kind of streak about me. I took the basic entry point. I became a personal trainer. I kind of felt it was a bit of a commodity. I couldn't really expand or grow in a meaningful way. I also felt I had a bigger purpose. So when I went to university, I started to get exposed to a bigger network, more powerful network, lecturers, opportunities, sports teams, schools, all that kind of stuff. So I started to get exposed to things that I could do in fitness. And then I started to dabble. And this is what I always say to people that are not really sure about their direction and their passions. I'm like, just keep trying stuff. Just keep throwing 5 hours of time into something. And when in my third year of uni, I was doing 5 jobs. And, you know, some of these were paid labour hours and some of these were like initiatives off my own back. And it was good because I got to my third year of uni and I was like, I know what I want to do. And it was online coaching. And I then finished uni, already had a business, and I was kind of away at the races. And then what you do is you sort of pay attention to the market. Well, what's the market doing? What's trending? Why is it trending? What will that lead into? So there was a point in time where, and no one knows this, I won't quote the name of the company, but there was a big research trend and no one was selling the product off the back of that research trend. So I created a business that sold one product, simple website, got the product made, had it in my bedroom, put the labels on it, you know, invested in like 1,000 units up front. And I literally leveraged this business off this one trend in the fitness industry, built it up, sold the business, then used all that capital to put into my next trend, had a payout, obviously used it to invest money, and then I did that with the second company. The second company wasn't quite as successful because I didn't really gauge the response of the consumer well enough. But again, all that money and experience then led me into my current supplement company. So I've actually run 3 supplement companies to date. Just people don't know what they are and haven't seen them.
And you're still looking at trends now, right?
Still looking at trends, you've got to. I would say it's a good 5 to 8 hours of my week attending events, reading news articles and blogs and stuff. It's also because the fitness industry is really hot. So hot right now. Everything, wellness, food, vegan, sustainability, packaging, like it's so important. You know, David Attenborough's opened up this whole can of worms on sustainability, but sustainability is a massive issue. So now we're talking about cars, we're talking about plane travel.
Well, it's something that has to happen. It's not something that we've got a choice. It has to happen.
So I think it's exciting, and I'm almost excited doing the research, but excited to see the opportunities there as well. But also I want my business to be ethical. I want it to be sound. I want it to be robust. And if I don't pay attention to that, and all my competitors are going with the trend, then at some point I'm going to be dead in the water.
So when you talk about market trends, what are some of the kind of niches, I guess, that you could, if you was into fitness and you're listening to this and you, maybe one of the guys here listening wants to start a business, what are some of the niches that you could recommend?
So I won't recommend any directly, but I would ask you what you feel the niches are that you know about and the communities that you're aware of. So if you're a really big cross country or like kind of like mountain biker or something, you're into mountain biking, you know that community, you know that across the UK there's 32,000 riders across 48 different clubs from north to south, you know, whatever. And actually, you know, from being in the forums that the cyclists always suffer with X problem. But no, there's not many business minds in that community. No. People just talk about it. So let's just say, for example, it's chafing. They get really bad chafing on a part of the body. And you could go, well, hang on, I'm going to have a gadget. I understand the market. I've got that exact problem. And then again, you might create a product. It might be niche. So you might only make, let's just say you make a year's salary out of it, but then that feeds the creativity, the contacts, the wisdom to then take your next hop, which is what I did with the supplement world. So I think it's about just seeing where you're at, what you're interested in, because then you'll be motivated to do it. Like if you just try and find a niche, like if you're just an average guy into business and you sit there going, oh, vegan's really popular, let's get into the vegan market. Well, vegans and anyone that's got an ethical mind is going to see that as absolute bullshit. Like you're a vegan in omnivore's clothing, so to speak. You know, and it's not ethically sound. So always go with your interests. You'll understand it more, you'll enjoy it more, because you might not even make a lot of money at the outset, but it doesn't matter because you've learned and you've enjoyed it and you've experienced it and you've connected with a community.
And there's also the polarizing opposite of everything as well. So like if you was good at relationships, for instance, and you wanted to start I think people think, oh, we've got a great relationship, I might start a power couple consultancy. Well, you could also work on a divorce consultancy and getting a result for someone, making them happy after a divorce. You can look at the complete opposite as well. And I think people don't necessarily think outside the box enough. You know, like you, when you're looking at research and spending that much time around market trends and stuff.
But when we look at business like that as well, you don't always have to have the expertise. You could just be the facilitator. So how many business owners, you know, you can speak to a CEO, they might not have many expertise in what their business actually does, but they're great with people. They're good at understanding skills and leveraging things. So you might see something and you might I know a guy called Jason, and I know a guy called Ben, and I know a guy called Chris. I'm going to bring them in and we're going to run a program for these people, and I'm just going to be the facilitator. Because I've got access to the network. I understand the problem and the need. And that's what business is providing a solution to a problem.
But that's what entrepreneurialism is. It's just having influence and leverage and using leverage, isn't it? That's to solve problems. Okay, really good. So I just want to hear, just before we kind of finish up on the last section, I just want to hear some of the kind of common problems and excuses that you get faced with when people kind of come to you. Because you don't only teach people on health and fitness and how to lose weight, but you actually coach trainers, don't you, on how to be a great ethical coach, which I love. What are some of the problems across the board or excuses that people come up with when they say, oh, it's not for me, or I can't do it, or...
It's classic. It's usually time and money. So I will sit down and I'll say, let's do a time audit. So from the moment you get up to the moment you go to bed, I want to know everything that you've done. So 6 a.m. to 7 a.m, what did you do? 7 a.m. to 8 a.m, and we go throughout the whole day. And if I see stuff in there that's like, you didn't do anything there, you're unproductive, like, yeah, exactly. I was on YouTube for half an hour. I'm like, now you could have gone for a run in the park. Now you could have gone and, so now it's not a time issue, it's a motivation or an inspiration issue. So how are we going to get you motivated to stick to a fitness program? Well, now talk to me about why you would want to do it. Now talk to me about the things that would stop you doing it. So in the past, what are your points of friction? What stops you from completing a fitness session? So all of these things are really, really solvable. It's just the initial barriers that people put in their way. It's usually quite a cultural thing because everyone does it. I ain't got enough time. I haven't got enough money. Like, oh, I can't do that. And I'm like, you haven't tried. You haven't assessed. And it usually just comes down to everyone's desire. Like everyone's got a desire to be fit and healthy, but many people don't do anything about it. So people's desire to go out on a Friday night and get drunk with their friends is a stronger desire than being fit and healthy on a Monday. Exactly. So what's going to change? Maybe how could we do a bit of both? So for example, like I love going out and having a drink and having food and all the rest of it. And like anyone, I like the feeling of, you know, being a bit loose and, you know, having a drink and just sort of losing yourself a bit. So I quite often plan it that we go out for drinks before dinner. So I'll meet someone at like 6 o'clock. I'll have like 2 pints, you know, feel a bit giddy, have a laugh, have a, you know, joke about with your mates. And then 8:30, I'll eat and then I'll sober up. So I've kind of had that fun and that drink and all the rest of it, but then I've eaten, I've sobered up, and then the next day I can get up at normal time, 6 o'clock in the morning, whatever, and go about my day. So there are ways to go about all of these things, but you have to put the rules in place. So I am the guy that will go, sorry everyone, I'm going to leave, it's 10:30, I'm going to bed. And they can all stay there if they want till 11:30 at night, but I'm going because I want to feel good the next day.
Yeah, that's high on your values.
Exactly. So there is a way to balance it all, but you have to plan for it.
And that, ladies and gents, is exactly why I believe that money, health and wealth go hand in hand. It's just, it really is. It does come down to... When you said time and money, it's so important to have your money game together because it does free you up of time. It allows you to think more outside the box. Even when you're talking about, you sold the first company, you had a bit of cash to play with, that's when you start seeing more than 5 foot in front of your face, and you feel like you can see things from higher up.
Yeah.
That's when the opportunities start to come. You're more liquid, you're more nimble, and you don't pass up on opportunities, you see them and you grab them.
Yeah.
So, really interesting what you said about the highest values. I've spoken about that before. One of my mentors says, if you was to stand up in a room and say, who wants to be financially independent, there was 1,000 people in the room, they would all put their hand up. Whereas if you said, who is financially independent, most of the hands would go down, it'd be about 1% left.
Yep.
And I guess if you did the same in fitness and you said, who wants a great body, a model's body, everyone, all the hands would go up. And then when you say, who's happy with their body right now, most of the hands will go down, right?
Yeah.
And it all comes down to what people say isn't necessarily their highest value, and the actions they're taking display that.
Yeah.
So you might say, I really want a great body, but you're drinking and having a curry.
Yeah.
What I like to do is I say, write down, like you just said, write down 200 reasons why you want this.
Yeah.
Why do you want it? Because that's what's going to pull you. And the reason I say 200 is because it's quite hard to do 200. It really forces you to, extract your mind, exhaust your mind onto a piece of paper. And that helps. So
the other issue with the numbers game is that people have a certain expectation, perception of the outcome, and then the goalposts are constantly moving as well. So you use the example of 100 people in the room, 99 put their hand down. From a weight loss perspective, most people put their hand down because they're constantly unhappy because they're comparing themselves to everyone else. Yeah. So financially free should mean something different to me than it does to you. Yeah. Just because we have different lives, different values. You've got kids, I don't, which means you just need more money to keep them alive and feed them and stuff. So actually, if we get down to what we need and why we need it, the chances are we will achieve what we want to achieve because the goalposts don't constantly move. And don't get me wrong, there is healthy and unhealthy ways to move the goalposts. If I achieve a goal, I will healthily move my goalposts. I won't do it from a place of like, oh, well now I need this because so-and-so's got that. I'm just like, oh, it'd be actually quite nice to achieve that. It'd be a new healthy goal for me. And that's sometimes the problem with explaining this because there's nothing wrong with changing a goal. It's whether you do it from a place of almost excitement and challenge rather than scarcity and fear.
I love that. And I always, because in today's day and age where we're living in this kind of positivity, unrealistic positivity, all the time, positive thinking, all that kind of stuff. There's positive thinking and everything being positive, which is ridiculous, isn't it? We're never always positive. But one of the things you see bandied about a lot is don't compare yourself to others. Whereas, as you just said, if someone it makes sense for 2 couch potatoes eating pizza about to die of heart attack. They've got, they've got diabetes, self-induced through eating a load of crap.
Yep.
It makes sense for them to compare themselves to someone who's fit and healthy and vibrant. So, be careful when you think about that because it makes sense to compare yourself to others sometimes. And sometimes you can get excited about it. It'll make your life better.
Well, we need a blueprint.
Yeah, we need something to copy.
I have to compare myself to you because you're like, well, this is what I do with my money. This is why I do it. I'm like, cool. Yeah. Well, I'm going to do that, but I'm going to do it 80% how you said it, and 20% my way because it's for me.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just the level of intensity that someone goes into it, which I think is the problem. And I think it comes from also a place of like self-love and self-value. Like you've got to value your own body, your own mind, your own lifestyle enough to do it for your own reasons and shape it in your own way.
Yeah.
And that's the funny thing about almost like business and health advice. Like some people, lose their shit when they're like, oh, I told him that, but he kind of did it that way. And I'm like, you should expect that.
Yeah.
You gave the advice, but he needs to do it in his way.
Yeah,
Everyone will do it in their own way.
Yeah.
It's just how the human brain is wired.
Totally.
Because we always want to think that we've got a slightly better way of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't get why people get upset with that.
No.
I'll write a gym program. Someone will follow at 80%. I am not upset.
No.
Like, because they're going to get 80-90% of the way there anyway.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
No. Yeah, it's the same with trading. You know, some people start going live before you think they're quite ready, but then you have to bleed into the equation their appetite for risk. You know, there might be. For me, I was a business person when I started trading. I wasn't stupid with money, so I knew when I could start trading live. Even if someone might have said, "Oh, you should have, you should test the water a little bit more." No, it depends on the person. It depends on how you're okay with that. Brilliant. So I've really enjoyed the discussion, Ben. Just before we go, we kind of finish off this podcast with action steps. So we try and motivate people to go and actually do something.
Yeah.
If someone is trying to build their discipline in health and fitness and really trying to work on their health game, what are some of the kind of action steps or quick, I use that term very, very loosely, quick wins, something that an action that they can take that moves them forward, or a few little tips that you can give them?
The number one thing, and it is a very quick win, is go get a good night's sleep. Like, I kid you not, I rode up on the train here today, and 50% of the people on the train were tired, unhealthy, frustrated, just pissed at life. And I'm like, you are not going to be productive today. You are not going to make good choices about food. You're not going to be motivated to go to a Soul Cycle class or a boot camp. So when you get a good night's sleep, you have a clear state of mind. You're able to be in control of everything. Like, it's so hard to eat well when you're constantly tired because your body will crave sugar and caffeine.
Comfort,
Exactly, comfort. Food that satisfies all the different areas of the tongue, the taste bud, which connects to the brain. So I always say sleep. I start nearly every nutrition seminar I talk about sleep, because whether you want to be normal, high performing, you want to compete at some kind of level, none of it works without a good night's sleep.
No.
Literally.
No.
So sleep is my quickest win, and the chances are people could start to feel really good in the space of a week or two and start to really see themselves make better decisions.
Amazing. And how, I know I went over it briefly earlier, but what is the key to losing weight?
Eat less food than you burn. So for all the diets out there, they all equal the same equation. It's a calorie equation. And yes, there are a few really unique scenarios where that kind of skips the dust. People will lose weight if they eat less. The problem is people don't do it consistently enough. So I describe them as Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 dieters. They do most things right most of the time. But the reality is, if you go off-piste at the weekend, if it's pretty off-piste, you can do quite a lot of damage per se to a diet. If you go for one all-you-can-eat Chinese buffet, well, I could eat easily 3,500 calories with alcohol. That's a whole day's
week,
that's a whole day's food intake. And for some people, that is a calorie deficit across the course of the week. So that is the annoying thing about diet. It does take a certain amount of consistency and commitment, but most people spend 10 years getting overweight. You're not going to fix it all in 10 weeks.
Love it. It's harsh truth.
Harsh truth.
That's exactly what we're about. All right, mate. Well, thanks for coming on, and it's been a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much.
Just before you head off, where can people find you?
Yeah, Ben Coomber, Coomber, all over the internet. So wherever you like to follow people, Instagram, Facebook. I've got a podcast in the health, fitness, mindset, personal development space. That's Ben Coomber Radio.
Great podcast.
But
yeah,
Ben
all
Coomber.
The links will be below here. And what's your primary channel? Instagram, did you say?
Instagram or podcast. That's where the podcast is, where the juicy, good stuff goes up.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
All right, so that's it for another week, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the podcast. Leave a little review if you did. And if you didn't, leave me a review as well. Leave me some constructive feedback. It all goes in the old feedback system. So it's all really important. Now, we're going to be going into investing in a couple of weeks because I keep getting requests on when we're going to talk about investing, and we will, but there's a reason that we've slowly built this on. And as Ben said in the podcast, you have to build upon build upon build. You have to do it in a certain order. And anyone that's been following this podcast from the start has been building a cash buffer. Okay, so there's no point investing until you've built that cash buffer of living expenses, that cash cushion. Otherwise, it's pointless. The whole exercise is pointless. So next week, I'm going to be talking to you about how I believe you build the most efficient and profitable business model on earth, whatever business you're in. And then the week after that, we're going to talk about how you can start investing now you're really cooking on gas with your income, your business income, and you're managing your personal income. So that's it for this week, guys. Have a great rest of your day and enjoy the rest of the weekend, and I'll see you then.
Subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss an episode. For news on all future events and updates, go to jasongreystone.com.